Alright. What do we got going on? We got a couple rods in the water behind me. Had an insane morning of fishing. Very insane. So now, I'm at a different place than this morning. And I'm gonna do my phone now. Here it is. I'm at a different place. And I just had another fish on. Haven't got one for a couple hours, and then Sarah phoned me. FaceTime phoned me, and coincidentally, I hooked a fish while talking to her. It drove her freaking insane. But she's going to be out here this evening, and she's coming up tomorrow morning. We're going to do another live tomorrow morning with both of us out here. Hopefully it'll happen again. I don't know. There's never any guarantees, right? So that's a dozen salmon I've caught today, total. It's pretty good. But anyway, what else? Some people thought that I had a cancellation fishing this morning. No, it wasn't a cancellation fishing. It was a cancellation last evening. Somebody's going to come on here and hang out and talk about what they've seen and what they know. But they had to cancel. So, I think tomorrow morning we have somebody supposed to be coming on here at 10 in the morning, she just told me. I'm like, uh-oh. Should be able to do that. But might have to put them off a little bit later. Maybe we'll see how the morning goes. It should work out. But anyway, I got the anchor out in this little bay, and it's definitely easier to, makes more sense to stay out here than go tie up at the dock, right? Sarah won't be around until later this evening, and then I'm gonna get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So these waves are working perfect, keeping these rods moving. Who knows, maybe I'll hook a fish while I'm talking. While I'm reading it, sharing some voices, all right? So let's get into it. Let's hear what people have to say with us today. What do we have? This first email is titled True Talk 1. All right. Please don't mention my name if you choose to share this information. No problem, I got you. I felt moved to write in response to your expressed frustration during a conversation with Chris Bassett. And you've expressed the same frustration many times before, relating to possible abilities humans might have had in the past. I'm an old lady now with obviously less time left in which to share what I've learned over my lifetime regarding some of the subjects which keep you awake at night. So I hope to give you some helpful perspective. I am looking forward to this. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, about 2 years after the trauma of my father dying and subsequent huge family upheaval, I experienced seeing something that others could not see. This gave me the very early conviction that there was more to life than we were taught. These experiences made me into a far more introspective, quiet child, a bit of a loner, intensely curious about the world around me, but more thinking than verbal compared to my peers. Combined with a high IQ when tested in high school, I think I was slightly uniquely equipped to interrogate our world on many fronts. I read voraciously from very early childhood, and in those very early years I soon honed in on the real mysteries. But for years they remained just that, mysteries. I was raised a Christian, but I wasn't steeped in religion. Rather, I was drilled in the religious law, the thou shalt not stuff. I saw my first dead body at age 13 at the first funeral I ever attended, an uncle, which fed my curiosity and interest further about the deep issues of life and death. Then one day I overheard adults talking, and one of them mentioned the mysteries, and I immediately jumped in with a question: what mysteries? The reply to me was just a smile and a repeated, the mysteries. More fuel for my fire. I quit reading fiction altogether, reasoning that I only had this lifetime, so I didn't have time to read fiction, and so I focused on reading only fiction, non-fiction. Like you, I wanted facts. Sorry, I lost my spot. Looked away and lost my spot. Come on. Like you, I wanted the facts. I reasoned that I had so many questions and someone somewhere had to have the answers, and I was determined to find them. That translates to will, which is a vital step. I soon realized that the mysteries are a real thing, and they are taught in mystery schools or initiation schools all around the world in the different cultures and languages in one or another form. However, nothing there, and there is no there, is taught from books. Also, never ever attended a classroom. There was reading material, but it wasn't regular kind of lessons where you memorize and parrot information and write some tests. Nothing like that at all. Small sections of written material would arrive. I'd read it a few times. It was always presented as fact, and most of it would indeed be fact, but some crucial little aspect would be completely wrong. Anyone just reading through it would never pick up what I eventually realized were deliberate faults intended to weed out anyone who wasn't capable of working out that there was a fault. And I stress the working out because these were faults in process. There wasn't internet in those days, so I couldn't Google anything, and I lived rural, so no easy access to a good library. I had to think for myself, filter it through everything else that I knew for sure, reason for myself, judge for myself, and experiment for myself, and meditate a lot in order to figure out the real truth. And I'm fairly sure that my IQ aided me enormously. There were no written tests, but there were initiations, all of which occurred when I was completely physically alone on a psychic/energy/spiritual level. Over the years, I passed every initiation and learned so much along the way that said, there are still questions to which I can honestly say I don't know. What I do know, with absolute certainty, we are not our... Hold on one sec. Let's shut that motor off. What I do know, with absolute certainty, we are not our physical body. We reside inside our physical body, which is like a container for our energy. We have and use our physical body in order to experience physical life, while simultaneously growing our spirit, or raising our energy. We are energy, which takes the shape of our physical body, our container. For every physical cell in our body, we have a corresponding energy cell. This is important to understand for healing purposes. And all these energy cells combined constitutes our energy body. With the energy self sealed to the physical body, an electromagnetic field subsequently surrounds the body. Electral air, magnetic matter, creating an aura or radiance around every person. This aura can be seen when the viewer's brain is operating on a certain wave pattern, very often seen by psychics. Now, the physical body is permanently attached to the energy body, and permanent separation only occurs at death of the physical body. But temporarily separation, hold on, plane, right? Right over the boat. It's a loud one. Now, the physical body is permanently attached to the energy body, and permanent separation only occurs at death of the physical body, but temporary separation occurs during sleep, deep meditation, and during OBEs. But it is not an actual separation, as the two are always energetically connected until the death of the physical body. When we, our energy self, are outside of our physical body, example during a OBE, out-of-body experience, we can still think, still move, and we do still feel like we're in our body, due to our energy taking the shape of the physical body. When we're out of the physical body, our thoughts move us to where we want to go. We are perfectly free. Thought is fuel for movement of our energy self from point A to wherever. We only need to think it and we will be there. We can heal ourselves of many, if not most, illnesses and diseases. Thought is the key. Breath is the tool to alter our brainwaves, necessary to perform healing. Our bodies are wondrously made. Meditation and breathing exercises can control our brainwaves. And through this, healing is possible. Not just healing yourself, but also healing others. If you set your inner compass at good, then you are setting it at God, because God is good. You look for good and you will find the divine, and just as importantly, the divine will find you. If you want to set your inner compass at good, if you want to set your inner compass at good, then repentance is absolutely key. People think of big sins when we think of sins, but many sins are in small things, things we hardly think twice about. Live like you would like to die, with no regrets, no guilt, and no shame whatsoever. In this way, it is possible to raise your own energy vibration / frequency, to align yourself more with good. I can't stress this enough. This point about repentance. Bad / ugly thoughts are sins as much as bad deeds, and they are heavy. They are weight on our frequency. They drag us down. It takes a long time to train yourself to arrest creepy, ugly, or bad thoughts, to convert them to good thoughts, to not allow bad thoughts any airtime in your mind, to neutralize them. To learn to control your own thoughts is vital. I need help there. On the point of negative and positive thoughts and words, energetically, a positive thought is any doing thought. And negative thoughts are not doing thoughts. And both positive and negative thoughts have nothing to do with good or bad. An angry person might shout, "I'm going to kill you," at someone. Energetically, that is a positive statement. It's not good, but it is energetically positive because it is action, doing, forward moving, you see? It's to signal either desire or intention or will, which is part of the requirements for manifestation. If you don't really want to kill someone, then never think it and never say it. Another essential step is to analyze your own fears. You think you're fearless, and I understand that, but everybody harbors a certain amount of fear. Or maybe just one deep-seated fear. And you'll have to self-interrogate to rationalize your fears and to neutralize them. There is no space for fear in a world of no death. Energy does not die, it only transmutes. There are living beings who do not have a physical body at all, who can and will and do assist humans. Some religious people call them angels. I've met some of these. They did not have wings, and I honestly do not know what to call them. But I know they are good, so they are of God. In life, like attracts like, magnetically, energetically. If we want to be around good people, we must be good. If we want to have friends, we must be a friend, and so on. Love is the highest vibration / frequency. If we want to be loved, we must love and be loving, and practice a universal love. I mean, we must love every living creature, every blade of grass. Love allows you to communicate with your garden and animals and environment and so on, and with other beings. If you want to learn, love, and appreciate grass, spend time in a desert. If someone asks you to picture God, what will you imagine? Most people, due to religious influence, involuntarily might imagine a kind of a man, because always there is that biblical masculine influence. What if God is an extremely high frequency energy that takes the shape of the universe? What if God is in everything? How would God see and know everything unless God were in everything? That is not to contradict what anyone may know or believe, but to get you to think instead of containing yourself by habitual thinking, which often is nothing more than a prison for your mind. You can't live in a box. You can't think in a box. Well, it's been my practice for many years to seek knowledge, and consequently I have experienced many unusual and wonderful and amazing things. I faced absolutely certain death while driving at 120 kilometers per hour, but was taken right out of time and shown how I could save myself, and returned right back into that exact time, and I saved both myself and a minibus full of people. Wow, that's crazy. The world around me had stopped, completely stopped, and then resumed. I have experienced many healings myself, and I've healed others remotely, and I have healed myself. I've seen many things. I've been in the presence of and communicated with someone I did not know on the other side of the world, in a country I've never physically been to, while my physical body was at home in bed several times. These are all fairly commonplace in my world, and without a doubt experienced by many other people too, so I'm not unique. The Sasquatch. I've not seen one, but at least not as reported by the many people on your channel. However, I have seen the energy form of one, and mighty impressive he was too. That's interesting. So the above are some things I know. Now for what I think, but I could be wrong. I think that humans in the past knew, saw, and practiced everything I've outlined, and probably much, much more. Though I obviously have only focused on the basics. I think it was very natural and normal to them back then. Maybe some could, some couldn't. Much like today. I think that all that I learned was handed down from that time, orally and physically, all through the ages. I think at some point in our history, a power struggle began when some turned to evil to gain material advantage. And all the wars and shit happening in the world, and all through history, might just all be a consequence of those power struggles. Absolutely. Just being greedy for power. I do think that the truly evil people are not exactly human. I've seen people who are not people as we know people, but they portray themselves as human. I struggle to think that all the shitty politicians in the world are not human, though some might not be human. I think many, if not most, or even all, are captured humans. I've seen fear on the faces of some of them in their public addresses. They can't always hide that. I think something's scaring the shit out of them, or made them not quite human. And if that's the case, it can only be something evil, because nothing good would ever force a human to do the evil stuff these politicians do. The agnostics call the energy in which we all swim, i.e. the fabric of life. The isness. The isness is all one thing, and what we do with our isness is many things, either good or evil. So it's about choice. Well, that's it for me, Steve. I hope some of this is helpful to you and your viewers. Take care. Anonymous. It's very helpful. Absolutely appreciate that email. Big time. And I'm picking up what you're putting down. I just, myself, I'm sure I can speak for a lot of us. Angle here. I hope you can see me. It's hard. It's hard to keep all those thoughts positive and loving, right? I mean, my First Nation superhero ladies, they really got it through to me that words are powerful, right? And to never speak the bad words. Don't speak those words. It's power. But yeah, the dark people, it's hard. It's hard for me, especially when you're aware of what the dark people are doing to the good people in society. And it makes good people want to do bad things to them. You know what I mean? To fight, to right the wrongs. And how do you do it? I mean, the wrongs are on such a large scale now. How do you conquer that with just love? You know? And especially if they're non-human, which I absolutely agree. I think for certain, these people who think they want to be in some kind of leadership role globally, nationally, I'm a firm believer, once they get to that certain position, they are shown what's up. Period. I'm convinced of that. So far, we'll see what comes with new leadership as the new leadership's coming to place around the planet. But it's quite the ride. Being a human being is quite the ride, you guys, isn't it not? I mean, especially when you get so many of these truths that we've been raised to think they are impossible, but meanwhile they are truths, and you become aware of them on your own. And then everything gets really confusing, right? And you just want to make sense of everything, and you don't want to waste time of life. I don't want to waste any more time of life being directed in the wrong direction, you know, of where I could be. or should be, or doing what I could be doing, or knowing what I have the right to know, which is everything, I think. But anyway, I guess I'm babbling, aren't I? Tide change just happened. I thought I'd do this a little bit, see if maybe I could hook a fish. Maybe. A couple pulls in this one, then I crack open another email, I think. I hope the fishing's good tomorrow morning for Sarah. She had to go through the torture of the live feed this morning and watch from home. Hopefully it works out tomorrow morning. She gets to be two of us going bonkers in here with the dogs. Alright, watch the rods. Who else do we got? Why is another plane coming here? Actually, I think that some of these small planes get I think they get paid to look for whales for the whale watching businesses. They fly the coast in a sunny day like this trying to spot where they are, and then they take those big Zodiacs with like 30 people in them, 20 people, whatever it is, and they go look at whales. Last year and the year before, there was always a gray whale right here against the shore this time of year, like clockwork. I haven't seen him once this year. I wonder if the killer whales ate him. Maybe. Orcas, killer whales, whatever you want to call them. Now, square that camera up somehow. I think. There we go. Sorry. Let's get into her. Who's next? Encounter in Washington Cascades in 2011. Hi Steve, I appreciate the progress you're making. These videos are helping a lot of people. And I have to say, I noticed that as these first-hand stories pour in, the characteristics of these beings are coming into view. We're hearing common experiences. And I just listened to your video posted December 10th, 2020. You shared an email from a hunter in northern Minnesota. And after his story, you made some comments. And what caught my attention was when you said, earlier in the fall, in the middle of BC, when that thing was beating on the tree, and somehow the sound was blocked from my ears. But the guy hunting wouldn't hear it clearly. Yep, that was me. Well, I had the exact same experience. They seem to have the ability to target a person with sound, so that only that person can hear it. Yeah, what's up with that? I believe that to be valid. I'm 63 today, and in 2011 I was hiking in western Washington State on the backside of Mount Pilchuck with a Boy Scout troop. Just a short hike, and one night in the woods at Heather Lake. That night we're all in individual tents, and around 11 p.m. I'm still awake thinking about things. Most are asleep. I hear footsteps way out there, at least 100 yards, and I think, cool, a bear or a moose. And don't pay attention to it. Then I realize whatever it is on 2 feet. It was clearly taking individual steps and crunching a bunch of bush with each step. The steps got louder as it approached the camp. I wasn't afraid, but I was definitely freaking out. And I quietly called out to others to know if anyone else is awake. And another adult accused me of trying to prank the kids, so I shut up. Apparently no one else was hearing it. I could hear it nice and loud. It was creeping up to us, slowing its pace down. First 5 seconds between steps, then 8, then 12, then 15, all the way to 30 seconds in between steps. Picture its posture as it did that, staying in that position and waiting for the next step. It got right up to the camp, and it was only 10 yards away. I got out of my tent, but only had a weak flashlight, and the bush was thick and high, and there was a huge boulder there. But I knew it was right there, behind that boulder. I got back in my tent and waited for the next step, and eventually fell asleep. I had to make an effort to stay awake all night. Sorry, I didn't make an effort to stay awake all night. In the morning, not one single person heard the steps, making me look like an idiot. Even my own 17-year-old son, who was there, needed to hear me several times before he began to believe me. Here's the characteristic I'm referring to. I think that when we hear people say, "Then the woods went completely quiet, no sounds whatsoever," I think maybe it isn't the woods, but rather the silence is being projected onto them, specifically to their ears. I think these things may have the ability to project sounds to our ears, and if they can project sounds, can they project sights? After all, every UFO encounter I hear, they always say, "And it made no sound whatsoever. The UFO was completely quiet." Maybe that's because it was an hallucination. I don't know. Just thinking out loud. Keep up the good work, Steve. I sincerely appreciate your efforts. Tom, I appreciate you, man. I'm super glad you're trying to figure it out and you're trying to come up with conclusions and you're sharing them publicly here. That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. What do you guys think? I've had it happen firsthand. I mean, I hear more sounds. I hear sounds in the woods better than I hear people talking. And when my buddy said it sounded like a sledgehammer wailing on a tree right where I went to get the quad. And it was dead quiet that morning, no wind, first light in the morning, elk hunting. And I didn't hear nothing. There's no way I would have missed it. And that's where a lot of stuff has gone down with me over the years, the same area. I know they're there. I know they're there full time right around there, but that's not the mystery anymore, whether or not they're there. The mystery is, who are they? Where do they go? And why are they so scared to reveal any truth to us about anything? Why? A lot of whys. An experience I'll never forget. Where's all the fish? I haven't got one yet. Hi, Steve. Thank you for giving us an outlet to get these experiences off our chest. I'm doing everything I can to spread the word about your page. In October of '78, my best friend and I snuck out for a late season camping trip just below Pikes Peak at the Rampart Range Reservoir, Colorado. The weather had been amazing. We did not give it a second thought how late into the season it was. And after a late dinner by the campfire, we realized that we were the only campfire anywhere in the Rockies as far as we could see, which gave us an uneasy feeling due to the eerie quietness. The only sound we could hear was the sound of a fire. At about 3 a.m., we heard a very heavy bipedal creature approaching our camp, in pitch black from a quarter mile away, straight through the trees. The sound and feeling were so intense that we quickly sat up and grabbed our rifles. Very heavy and striding just like a human. Based on the sound of the stride and the timing of the steps, 10 feet tall minimum and 1,100 pounds of weight. It will sound stupid, but the vibration and sound were like Jurassic Park. I've never been so afraid in my life. And as it got closer, we sat back to back in the middle of the tent and pointed up, getting ready to shoot. And this creature walked straight through the trees, right up to our tent, and stopped. We were both shivering in terror, pointing our rifles at the roof of the tent, ready to start firing rounds. I remember waiting for a big hand to reach through and grab us. It seemed like eternity. Dead silence. Then it walked away, just like it walked in. We sat in absolute dead silence, shivering in shock until sunrise. I remember seeing the first drop of sun on the side of the tent, and I asked, "Are you ready?" Without a word, we both jumped to our feet instantly and scrambled to tear down our campsite, literally grabbed the tent without breaking it down and threw it in the back of the pickup. On the move within seconds. Not a word on the way home, and never a word about it since. What's up with that? Stay safe. Thanks again for your support. Sincerely. Use your name? Harry Spencer. Harry, appreciate you, man. That's an experience I haven't had yet. And that would be scarier than shit. Right? Many people have. So many people have experienced that exact same thing. It's silly. Now what's the being doing? Who are they looking for? Why do they have to get that close for some kind of confirmation? Who are they looking for? fish under the boat. Hold on a minute. Fish under the boat. Come on, bite that hook. They're not into it. Oh, there's another one there. Come on. See him on the sounder. Come on, bite it. Come on. No takers. Well, you gotta try, right? Crazy. Oops. All right. One more. Please feel free to use my first name. All right, Alan. Hello, Steve. My name is Alan. I'm 58 years old. Spent most of my life in the outdoors, and I've hunted across the U.S. and Canada. I spent 17 years in the Army, and I had top secret clearance, and spent 8 years positions of command before getting caught up in a force reduction following Desert Storm at the rank of captain. I provide this info simply to substantiate that I'm familiar with most things in the outdoors, and I'm a trusted and trained observer, not easily rattled, and not quick to jump to conclusions. Thank you for what you do for those of us with experiences that we know to be true, but are so adamantly denied by those who have yet to encounter one of these beings. Excuse me, that said, I live in northwest Pennsylvania, right on the shores of Lake Erie, not known as an area for Sasquatch. However, my first experience was in the early 1990s, right on the Ohio and PA border on the lake shore. There's an overlook of the lake there where people watch the sunset. There's nothing other than woods and water for over a mile and a half in any direction. This is in the middle of state game lands that is approximately 5,500 acres. On this particular evening, I was with two of my friends, one male and one female, and we had just watched a spectacular sunset where Lake Erie appeared flat as glass. No wind whatsoever. Sound would carry far off. Sound would carry very far in these conditions. We were the only ones there this evening. As we stood at the car talking about the great sunset, suddenly we heard what could only be described as a woman being horrifically assaulted. I've never heard anyone tortured, but this sounded so blood-curdling that it could not be anything else. Or so I thought at the time. The volume was so loud we assumed this had to be close, and we jumped in our car to rush to the next parking area where this sound appeared to be coming from. When we pulled in about an eighth of a mile away, there was no car or anything there. There was silence. We circled the entire block of woods, approximately 5 miles in all, and no other vehicles were parked. No bikes, no sign of anyone. And at the time, we were just confused as to what could have made such a loud and horrific scream. We drove around and stopped and listened many times. Nothing. No other cars or vehicles or people on foot appeared. And after an hour of this, we returned home and watched the news for a couple of days and read the paper to hear of anything that could have explained what we heard. None appeared. We were perplexed and spoke of it often, but without conclusion. Then, after the internet became prevalent, I heard that terrible sound again when listening to Sasquatch screams online. I knew at that moment the sound online was exactly the same as the one we heard that evening. There's nothing like it. And if you have nothing to compare it to, it sounds like a woman just being tortured. I was instantly convinced of what we'd heard. Later, I also found online where someone reported a sighting of one of these beings only about 2 miles away at nearly the same time frame on Creighton Road. I've hunted this area for years since. Visited this overlook for sunsets hundreds of times and walked my dog countless miles around that 5-mile block and never heard or observed anything similar since. Granted, I do carry a sidearm every time I'm not hunting there, but it is more a comfort thing due to all the nefarious characters who now use these treasures of land for illicit drug activities. My second experience is in the early 2000s while hunting whitetail in Illinois along the Mississippi River basin. The area has lots of hardwood ravines that drain down to the river plain from the agricultural plateaus on either side. The area is known for its abundant deer population. And I was hunting a long, narrow piece of property, one parcel away from a huge ridgeline that dropped nearly straight down to the river floodplain. I'm sure no one could walk down these drop-offs. They were that high and steep. The little drainage ravines were the only way up and down these drop-offs. The property between my stand and this drop was no more than 100 yards wide, and from my tree stand I could easily see completely through to the drop-off. Deer would regularly funnel out of these little drainage funnels into the fields and onto the property I was hunting. This adjacent property owner would not allow anyone to hunt on his land, nor did he himself hunt. He was quite adamant about it, but would allow you to recover an animal should you need to. So no one was going to sneak onto his land. One morning I was in my stand a solid hour and a half before dawn, and I'd gotten all settled in to wait for the woods to awaken, and I noticed how absolutely still and silent it was. Nothing unusual, but no owls, no leaves rustled by raccoons, no possums. That was usual for a morning like this. I didn't give it any thought. And about 15 minutes into my sit, I heard what sounded like heavy, slow footsteps coming from behind me, up towards the road in this adjacent property. I kept looking over my shoulder for the telltale light of a headlamp or flashlight, but nothing appeared. I thought, wow, this guy's walking down that property in the dark. He is sneaking in on that land. So I kept listening and watching. Steps became louder and closer and occasionally stopped for several minutes. When I knew that the person would be within range of my flashlight, I turned it on, and I saw nothing but some eye shine. I assumed it was a raccoon from the height above the ground and coming from the backside of a large tree. I turned off the light and was totally perplexed. I knew what I had heard, and I know it was a two-legged walk. I waited about 5 minutes wondering what was going on, and then I heard the same heavy footsteps again going further down the edge of the drop-off, and again turned on the light only to see just movement go over the edge where there was no drainage funnel without any noise at all. I waited to hear a fall that never occurred. I didn't see or hear anything else that morning until sunup, and what was even more odd was the woods remained absolutely dead that morning, even after sunrise. No deer, no squirrels. And this is very unusual for a perfect frosty calm morning, the kind you live to hunt on. I didn't see a deer until the afternoon, and it came from the other side of the property towards the ravine. I'm convinced after thinking about this and the eyeshine I saw with the flashlight that this was a Sasquatch traveling through the area. Allegedly, they travel the river bottoms. Not a confirmed sighting, but one that I'm convinced had no other explanation. I never sat there any other day and didn't see my share of deer, even in less than ideal weather, except on this particular day. Steve, thanks again for all you do to help those who know what they have experienced is real. Please keep up the good work, and thanks for bringing this subject to light for so many who struggle with it. Alan. Too easy, Alan, my man, my friend. It's too easy to keep doing it. Somebody's got to do it, right? It's truth. Somebody's got to do it. And I agree, it is helping a lot of people, including myself. Where's all the fishies? Now, what am I going to do now? I'm tempted to go back to where I was first thing this morning and see if there's an afternoon bike, maybe. Maybe. I should probably go back to the dock and go to sleep, but how do you stop doing this? Share my story at howtohunt.com. Please email all of us if you got something we can, some kind of knowledge we can benefit with. And don't forget, I think I mentioned it. Yeah, I did. Sarah's new design she made, which is pretty cool. She's got this one, and there's the other, the holographic style, same things. It wasn't a bear. It wasn't a bear. She's gonna try to get them on t-shirts too. And that dog shit Teespring site is disconnected from the YouTube channel finally. They ripped us off. They ripped a lot of you off. They're ripping people off around the globe, apparently, if you Google it up. I'm sure we'll get theirs in the end. It's too bad a lot of people thought it was Sarah, but it's not hard to figure out where your charges go when you're getting ripped off. It's never been us. But anyway, share my story at howtohunt.com. Get your truth shared with the world, all right? Talk about it openly. I better find some sunglasses. Oh, these weird little flies out here on the ocean that get on the boat. And they're so... I've beat them with my hat in midair, beat in my arm, they bounce onto the floor, run around and jump up, start flying again. I don't know how many times. Where you get the common house flies and they crumble the second you touch them. These things are annoying. I'm babbling. I'm gonna catch a fishy. Time to catch a fishy. Oh my luck, you guys saw the rod bend behind me and I didn't. Oh, there's a fish under the boat again. Here we go. We'll be back tomorrow morning. We'll be back tomorrow morning with live feed. Live feed fishing, all right? Probably start around 5:30-ish. We're left at 5 in the morning Pacific time is when it'll fire up. And hopefully, you'll see two of us going crazy with a pile of fish bites. These fish don't want to bite here. Too aggressive right now. See you tomorrow.